Okay, Chris. Fratelloni's Hardware.
Let's do this.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores.
Brings you.
That's right, Matt. Brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1030, March 6, 2023. 69 degrees on this day in 2000. And not that long ago, Matt.
For sure.
16 below in 1890.
That is a long time ago.
That's right.
This is ricey for the Canopy Group.
That's the wrong thing. Somebody deleted my new thing. This is going really, really well.
And now, from the mayor's office, above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake,
You gotta do
it's
this.
Garage Logic.
Okay.
Yeah.
With
Look at
Rookie
me.
on production, Chris Reavers, director of social media, John Heidt in the newsroom, and occasionally Kenny from the Krabby Coffee Shop. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Hey.
Hey. Joey Joe.
In about an hour, Governor Walz is having a colonoscopy. This is
Really?
Paul Keefe reminded me of this.
This is news.
And he said, this is the one day you can't say Walz is full of boom, boom.
Crap.
Right. See, it's got a, because they empty
That's
out
clever.
those.
Yeah, you got to.
That's so funny.
I thought it was. I have to laugh. He even turned over his executive powers to Mary Kay Smith or what the hell?
Peggy
Flanagan. Peggy Flanagan.
Flanagan, yeah.
It's Anna Formatamidai's birthday today.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Wait,
Anna.
no.
I'm not singing the whole
birthday.
song.
We don't do birthdays.
Okay, we won't do
Thought we
that.
didn't do,
Yeah. Yeah, we
especially
don't.
when it's
Wish we
Anna
could
from
wish Anna
Matamidai's
happy
birthday.
Sorry. Yeah.
And what's this now? Oh, I noticed this too. Carl Schmidt writes, and I'm going to mention this and then tell you why I'm mentioning it. I listen to your podcast, and after a while, it gets boring.
I would agree with that.
I wouldn't have read that if I knew it. I should have read it beforehand.
I'm on the show, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But please explain how your newspaper could run a story about a woman in Canada with dreadlocks who can't find a helmet to fit her hairstyle so she can go horseback riding. I just can't take it anymore. Carl, I saw that story, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but you did, and it also offered me some astonishment that we ran a pretty long story, I believe it was in yesterday's Sunday Pioneer Press, about the problems most principally women of color are having getting helmets to fit for their equestrian activities. And I
didn't know
thought,
this was a problem.
you know what? The world isn't in that bad a shape.
No, if that's what we're worried about.
If you got a problem getting a horse helmet, Marlene would have them, wouldn't they? Marlene's House of
Marlene's
Helmets.
House of Helmets, of course, the equestrian.
If you got a problem getting a horse helmet, I would say that's not a big worry.
Isn't a helmet, though, supposed to be fairly snug to your head?
Yeah, and these gals with the big locks are saying that doesn't work for them.
Well, the only solution is cut your hair.
Well, you would think that would be the common sense answer, Kenny, but we live in a day when you must be accommodated. Did anyone watch the Chris Rock special?
No.
I did
Just
not.
the one clip. I saw one.
Yeah, I
clip.
saw the clip.
Okay, good. I don't think you missed anything.
I think I will go back to watch it. He's a funny guy.
I can't win with this.
What?
To rip it. I can't win because he's beloved.
What do you want to rip?
What did
he
you
was
see?
beyond vulgar. He took vulgar to a new level.
Oh.
And I think that obviously was a conscious decision on his part. He's not known for that.
Okay. Well, he can go blue, but you think he went
This was
dark blue.
What's beyond blue?
Green.
He went to the next color wave beyond blue.
Okay.
And
On what topic?
I think I stand alone here because I've read the reviews and I've looked at the news items about it. It made a big splash that he had this big comeback concert Saturday night on Netflix. It was live. And I'm the only one thinking the way I am. I'm not finding anyone else who raised any red flags about it. So it's just me. It's probably my age. Get off my lawn. It's probably just me. So
You're correct, Joe. It's our age. I'm the same way. I didn't watch that, but my kid has been having me watch a lot of young comedians.
yeah.
And they all
Across the
are
board.
over the top,
Yeah.
blue and
Yeah.
And and plus, given a man of his stature, and I think he does have stature.
Okay.
I think he's made quite a name for himself. He, more than others, should know the ramification of his work. Why did every other word have to be the N word?
I could talk about that too.
It's not funny. And here's the other problem.
And how is he using? Is he saying?
Just trust me. It was in every sentence referring to white people, black people, women, men, whatever. Everything was the N word. And again, he had to consciously frame this. He had to consciously write this because that hasn't been him in the past. He might have dropped an N word once in a while, but given the fact that we're virtually exploding, that we're so divided, we're on a hair trigger in this country, it just struck me that everything he said was not helpful. Everything.
There's a great round table clip going around this weekend with Chris Rock, Louis C.K., Seinfeld, and Ricky Gervais. And they're talking about using the N-word.
Well, and I'm sure they're justifying it.
Well, Louis C.K. and Chris Rock say, well, I've always used it, and I always will, even though Louis C.K. is white. Seinfeld, on the other hand, said, I have never used that word in my life in or out of comedy. I would never use that word in or out of comedy, and I don't find anything funny when it's used.
Good for him. What did Gervais say?
Gervais said, he joked about it. He said, I don't use it on stage either. I only use it in private. And then he went, his laugh. So that was the gist of that conversation, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not being prudish. You're just saying it wasn't. It didn't have any effect on what he was talking about. It didn't make the joke better. It didn't make it. He could have used other.
He didn't need to be that panderingly crass.
Okay.
We could go really deep on
I can't wait to watch it now. Now I want to see it.
We could go deep on that topic, Such. I mean, who uses it, who gets to use it, who doesn't get to use it, words in general, why is certain segments of the society banned or even canceled if they use that word, why it's completely, totally acceptable for other people to. It's an interesting topic. I don't know
think
that
it's an unacceptable word for no matter who uses it.
Yeah.
You take the Seinfeld route. Yes.
I take the Seinfeld route.
Is there such a thing, though? So, I mean, you just can't ban words.
We're getting hung up on just the use of that word. That was a small fraction of his lines that he crossed.
I see your point, though, and I just think it's an interesting topic.
It is. It's terribly interesting. But it struck me as disappointed was the word, to realize that he had purposely crafted this act to be as foul as humanly possible.
Give me an example of what he was talking about.
He made who's the comedian I'm thinking of? The trash man on TV, Red
Fox?
Red Fox.
Red Fox?
He made Red Fox look like a Boy Scout.
You got to wash.
No, beyond that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He used to be an Eddie Murphy did a bit about that long time ago, how Cosby was getting down on him for using.
I remember that.
To talk to you about the things
And then
you do on your show.
Then we learn about Cosby.
Yeah, much later. And then Eddie and what's his name? Richard Pryor got together and just kind of laughed at Cosby, laughed it off.
Right.
But I agree with you. The shows I watch on YouTube and cable, I find it very off-putting with cursing, even if the word is beeped out.
Yeah.
Even though I use it a lot in my nonstop in regular life.
There's another problem. I got everything he was saying. I got it.
Okay.
But he's talking to too many idiots who aren't going to get it. Who think that what he said was okay.
Was it just thrown in? And
Well, this
he
is a
used
very practiced routine. You could he worked hard on this. There was no.
Would it have been as funny if he used a different word?
I found much of what he was doing was social commentary that wasn't necessarily even intended to be funny. Again, the use of the N-word was but a small line that he crossed compared to other lines that he crossed. Now, I got a middle-aged daughter who thought the whole thing was brilliant.
His line about Jay-Z and Beyonce was pretty damn good.
I don't remember. Oh, yeah, she could work at a Burger
Well,
King.
she said she's so beautiful that she could still get married to Jay-Z if she worked at Burger King.
Right.
But if Jay-Z worked at Burger King,
Right.
ain't no chance he's getting married to Beyonce.
That's right.
I thought that was pretty good.
That's right. Well, he had some wonderful lines. He's really sharp, which was why I was so disappointed.
But I wonder how different it would have been had it not been live. If it was pre-produced, if it was,
Whatever. It's not worth dwelling on. I'm trying to remember why I brought it up. Oh, I asked you guys if you saw it. Nobody did, except you
Well,
did.
I just saw a few clips online.
Yeah, same with me.
Well, I guess I just sold him a bunch of tickets.
Well, it's done now. I mean, you can still
I suppose you can say into your microphone and it'll come up.
Netflix Chris Rock.
yeah, you can pull it up on Netflix. Yeah.
In fact, my kid said I liked it so much he's going to watch it again. So this is an age thing. I don't diminish that. This is me standing outside in my underwear,
Yelling at the cloud.
"Get off my lawn!"
Okay.
Well, now I have to watch the entire thing because I want to know what put you over the edge.
It was a. By the time he got to Will Smith, I just had enough. I turned it off. That was his denouement, I believe, unless the thing went on for another half hour. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But even his description, I got to think Will Smith's going to come looking for him.
Well, he pretty much already did once.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, he left no stone unturned. He graphically explained.
Will needs to pretty much lay low when it comes to Chris Rock because that's put a little damp on his career.
You don't think they're going to be having Thanksgiving dinner?
Well,
together?
no, but I think Will has suffered from a career standpoint because of what he did.
Well, whatever.
Okay.
It was
Is that your dirt alert?
I guess that's what it was, wasn't it?
I didn't see it because I was at Springsteen last night.
Well, it was on Saturday night, Matt.
Oh.
So
I was
you
not at Springsteen on Saturday night.
could have another excuse.
How was the boss?
The boss,
How was that government music?
Don't start with me.
It was good. I didn't know a lot of his encores when he came out. What Hungry Heart or Born to Run, Dancing in the Dark. I didn't know some of the early songs, but my wife was sitting there singing them. I like the new stuff. I don't like the old stuff. No. I didn't know what these other songs were before
Kitty's
the
Back.
encore.
I saw he did Kitty's Back.
Kitty's Back is a long one.
Great old song.
Who opened for him?
Nobody.
Oh, nobody did.
You know his new stuff, but you don't know his old stuff.
No, Matt phrased it incorrectly. Matt knows the old stuff, which was heard during the encore. During the brunt of the show, Matt was having a problem because it was mostly new stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did I help you there?
It did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it did.
The
Full
Rook
crowd.
translator.
I speak rookie.
I
I have for years.
I sat down and the guy behind me said, "Hey, Rook, huge fan of the show."
Okay,
Doesn't mean anything. That's anecdotal.
it is.
Did you introduce yourself first, though? Tell him you're Matt from
I am
Rookie.
Yes,
Wearing his
that's how
jail
I.
hat.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
I am the rookie. I had my the rookie sent me T-shirt on.
You know, not according to me,
What?
but according to UCLA,
Okay.
which is a failed academy. So all you foreigners, you love to take the word of the failed academy.
Right.
According to a UCLA study published by Environmental Pollution, the 2020 California wildfire season was a record-setting year of wildfires that created more problems than the last 16 years of mitigating automobile exhaust, for example. Yeah. It burned over 4.2 million acres. You know what that is in a state the size of California?
It's nothing.
4%, making 2020 the largest wildfire season recorded in California. Now, what they should do is, as long as this is from the failed academy,
Okay.
wouldn't it be safe for Newsom, who's a fraud and a phony, wouldn't it be safe for Newsom to say, based on studies like this from UCLA, we must improve our forest management. We have to ignore the environmentalists and go in there and do the cleanup that we're supposed to do.
That it would be self-serve. It would be a smart thing to do so it doesn't burn.
The CO2 released by the fires undid 16 years of pollution control in California. I mean, yes, today's environmental statistic, but I can say it because it's come from the failed academy, so it must be true. It must be true. Came right from the failed
Gotta be
academy.
true.
Yeah.
They have wildfires every single year.
Yep.
Every single year.
Yeah.
Here's today's environmental statistic.
Are you taking submissions for the governor of the state of Minnesota?
What do you mean?
Well, Hans just weighs in on the Walls colonoscopy.
It's at 1 p.m.
I wonder if they're going to find his head up there.
That's what Bert said.
Now that's funny.
Bert was wondering if they could plant a chip there. Maybe
Oh,
a
sure.
reality chip.
Well, he already got the chip, didn't he, when he got the booster?
I don't know. I don't know. What's her name again? The lieutenant governor?
Peggy Flanagan.
She's
Peggy
the governor
Flanagan.
right now.
Yep.
Because he's going to...
What's she going to get pushed through?
Boy, they got a lot going on, don't they? Yeah. You get the feeling the rest of the country might be snickering at Minnesota?
For a long, long time.
Might be snickering at us?
Yeah.
You know what Walmarts are closing?
Yes.
Walmarts are closing because of progressive hellscapes. They're closing 8 stores in 5 states.
Wow.
They're winding down pickup locations. They're citing poor financial performance, but the stores are underperforming in crime-ridden areas. So what that's going to do is the behavior of these feral youth is going to cause mom a problem when she has to go and try and buy some stuff at a discount price. The stores will be closed. Remember I told you I got the texting string from a fellow I know who was in San Francisco, and he said it was easier to buy a toothbrush in Shanghai than it's becoming to buy one in San Francisco.
Wow.
Because the stores are either closed or they have so much security that there's a line that forms outside because the security only lets a few people in at a time.
And we've already seen it happen here.
This is San Francisco.
Right.
San Francisco. You know who I want to welcome back?
Who's that?
R.F. Moeller.
Oh,
Dave, have you been in their new store in Highland?
I have.
Completely remodeled. It's gorgeous.
That's where Matthew got his wedding ring.
Well, that's where you should get them
Right.
because you're going to get the best deal from the best people. But this is a third-generation family-owned jewelry store. They're at 50th and France and Edina, Ford and Cleveland and St. Paul. 70 years in business. They've been celebrating. You know what they're celebrating? Love. Since
Amore.
Since 1951, and it's great stuff. I know these guys personally. I always have. The staff is educated because a lot of times, if a Moeller isn't around, I just settle for whoever helps me because they're smarter usually than Moeller. Because Moeller, he's a big shot, and he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does anymore.
Right.
So I go to the staff who are all wonderful.
Yes.
Birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, engagements, It's a beautiful, beautiful array of the best jewelry in the Twin
Did you
Cities.
realize what you just did?
What did I just do for Moeller, my man Moeller?
You just ripped the
Well, he doesn't
owner
know what the hell he's talking about anymore. Well, get to the staff.
Welcome back. Right?
They know. They know what the hell they're
if
doing.
Moeller comes up and greets you when you walk in,
Yeah.
ask if there's anybody
Is there anybody else that can help me?
you.
Mark, you got to give me somebody to help me. I can't talk to you. I can't
Nancy,
talk
Matt,
to
Bobby.
you. Anybody. Give me Bobby. Give me anybody. And that's if you want your jewelry custom designed. You know what they got? They got everything. The computer programs. You could design something. But not with Moeller. He doesn't know how to work that stuff. Go to the staff because they'll help you. I'm serious. It's the best.
The customer doesn't want to say it. Can I see a manager, please?
No. In Moeller's, you say, give me anybody but a manager.
Right.
Because the manager's all family. Right?
Yeah.
It's RF Moeller. It's fantastic. RFMoeller.com. 50th in France in Edina. Ford in Cleveland in St. Paul.
We'll work through it.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Yeah, of course I have an opinion on which Toro snowblower you should buy from Tri-State Bobcat during their spring sale on the Toro Power Clear single-stage blowers and the Power Max two-stage blowers. I have an opinion, and so does everybody else. That's why Tri-State is offering you both models, and whatever you decide on, I promise you, you're going to look forward to the next snowfall with a Toro snowblower. Best bet, just get into a Tri-State location, talk to an expert, take home the unit that best fits your needs. If you're busy thinking about summer, oh boy, my opinion, I think, is proven fact. Toro's zero-turn mowers will cut the time spent mowing and make a tedious job fun. Right now, Tri-State Bobcat has the best pricing on select previous model years, the Time Cutter and Titan zero-turn mowers, anywhere from 42 up to 60 inches with discounts ranging from 10 to 20% under their promo pricing. There's a big bunch of both snowblowers and carryover zero turns and new models on sale. So get on the horn, call up any one of the Tri-State locations, tell them you're a GLer and you need a snowblower or a Toro zero-turn mower. And if you're listening down in the Owatonna area, Mankey's Outdoor Equipment in Owatonna, now part of the Tri-State family. So all the pricing you hear me talking about here in the Twin Cities, also available down in Owatonna. And as always, when you stroll in, say, hey, I'm a GLer, what's up? Tell them you heard about it on the GL podcast. We're talking Burnsville, Little Canada, and Hudson, Wisconsin. And you can see all of everything and even more at tristatebobcat.com.
Did you guys, boy, there's so much on our plates that we didn't get to. Did you guys read last week that among the other things the DFL wishes to push through is the assisted death deal, where if you're suffering, you can apparently get a pill or something and finish yourself off? And it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not a fan of that.
Euthanasia?
Yeah. But one of the quotes from somebody in the story was, "Well, I wouldn't want my family to see me suffer." All right, and I got thinking, it's no wonder that this whole climate change hysteria can get so much traction with people, because all it would be, in their estimation, is some avoidance of inconvenience or suffering. They don't want any part of that. So, therefore, we don't want you to drive, or you must drive an electric car. We don't want to be suffering. That's all I had to say about that. I linked climate change to euthanasia.
I think I know.
Well,
go ahead, Kenny.
How different is that from you get the notice from the doctor that says, well, your body's shutting down. You're in a lot of pain. You've got cancer. You're suffering. It's going to be over in a week. So we're going to drug you up so you're high AF. And you're just going to wither away until your body shuts off.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take that.
That's pretty brutal. It's a sad and sorry way to go.
I think the real reason that you're
That's what Jimmy Carter's doing.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the reason you're not in favor of it is you're worried she's going to say, no, he needs that now.
Well, I don't trust the people around me that they might.
He looks like he's
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it for you.
No, really, I'm fine.
You'll also recall that I believe it was Friday we discovered, Reavers, give me his name again, Jason Brodeur in Florida.
Yes. Yep.
Authored a bill. It won't go anywhere. He wants to register anyone who blogs about the Florida government.
I actually have it here. Florida legislator Jason Brodeur wants to, T-O, register bloggers if they write about government officials.
Right, and he's an idiot, and he won't get anywhere with it. But it shows you the dangers of the way this political class thinks. But Timbuktu, who has done a lot of work for this show, I don't think I've met the guy, but he does more work than you guys do.
Yeah, I don't deny that.
And he's got an interesting discovery. Friday's podcast discussed a Florida bill that would require political bloggers to register with the state and pay a fee. This ridiculous proposal would not survive a constitutional challenge, owing in large part to a Supreme Court decision handed down almost a century ago called Neer versus Minnesota. I believe this was the most important case in Minnesota history and certainly a turning point in the history of the free press in America. Jay Neer was a Minneapolis muckraker who published a weekly newspaper called the Saturday Press. He was a crusader against organized crime and political corruption, but he was not a sympathetic character. He was said to be anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic, and anti-black. Neer accused a young Hennepin County attorney named Floyd B. Olson, who was later a 3-term governor, of being soft on crime. In 1927, Olson filed a complaint against the Saturday Press under the Minnesota Nuisance Law of 1925. Also known as the Minnesota Gag Law, it actually gave courts the authority to shut down newspapers.
Wow.
Neer's attorney argued that the gag law was an unconstitutional infringement of the rights of a free press. The trial judge said the law served a valid purpose and ordered Mr. Neer to shut down his newspaper. Neer appealed to the Minnesota Supreme Court, but they upheld the decision of the lower court. The state Supreme Court wrote that a scandalous publication annoys, injures, and endangers the comfort and repose of a considerable number of persons, and so constituted a nuisance just as surely as places where intoxicating liquor is illegally sold, houses of prostitution, and itinerant carnivals. Neer's last resort was the U.S. Supreme Court, but he didn't have the money to finance that appeal, and the case could have died, leaving a terrible legal precedent. He was given the money to appeal by one of the most powerful men in journalism, Colonel Robert McCormick, the publisher of the Chicago Tribune. The two men had little in common. McCormick was a Yale graduate and had a law degree from Northwestern University, but he understood the threat these gag laws presented to all members of the press. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down Minnesota's gag law as an unconstitutional infringement of the rights of a free press. The most important sentence from that decision is the following. The fact that liberty of press may be abused does not make any less necessary the immunity of the press from prior restraint. A more serious evil would result if officials could determine which stories could be published. The Neer versus Minnesota decision is now considered a landmark case that is often cited in any case involving free speech or free press. If you walk into the lobby of the Chicago Tribune building today, I'm sorry, that no longer exists, you will find quotations from Neer versus Minnesota etched into the marble walls. The specific facts of this case are important precisely because it involved a person that many people disliked. The First Amendment does not exist to protect Mr. Rogers. It exists to protect people like Mr. Neer. The Saturday Press resumed publication under the guidance of Mr. Neer and his associate, Howard Guilford. 3 years later, Guilford was gunned down by an organized crime hitman. Although tragic, it remains to this day the perfect metaphor for what is wrong with these small-minded politicians. They use legislation the same way a hitman uses bullets to shut people up. Murder of journalists is illegal in every country. In America, government suppression of free speech is also illegal, thanks to an unlikable guy named Jay Neer. And there you have it, Jason Brodeur in Florida. The Supreme Court case could very well be brought into play should this preposterous wish of Mr. Brodeur gain any traction in the Florida legislature. Neer versus Minnesota ruled that you can't do that.
Okay.
No prior restraint. Thank you, Timbuktu.
When did he send that to you?
Today at 9:45 a.m.
When did we talk about that story?
Friday.
So he had all weekend to do that.
Right.
We had about 3 minutes before the show started on Friday to do all the research. That's when we found out what you were going to talk about.
May I suggest, did any of you bring anything in today on Neer versus Minnesota?
No.
I did not.
Either did I.
I did not.
Either did I. But that's why the GL nation continues to grow. Because we have living in the nation people who take these responsibilities seriously
Very serious.
and take them to heart.
Yes, right to the heart.
I would have probably had it Friday, but I was off Friday, so
Now, I'm
Were you off
not
Friday?
going to dispute that because you do have even though you need to be prodded,
I didn't have it, Joe.
no, but you might have. You might have gotten curious about that. Although there was nothing in Brodeur's story to alert us to this almost 100-year-old case in Minnesota, Neer versus Minnesota. But I'm glad it was pointed out. I think it's important to know. And I think the guy in Florida will fall right on his Pratt. He's got nowhere to go with that. At least so far as this country survives at this moment. God only knows where we're headed. And I'm going to catch myself right there before I would say anything further.
It's not the only First Amendment thing going on in Florida at this moment. I mean, there are other First Amendment questions going on and proposals.
Regarding?
Journalist privilege. DeSantis would like to get rid of that. There's also a push to write a bill where anonymous sources can't be used. We'd like to get rid of that. I don't think any of those would muster, though, would they, in court cases?
No, you have to. I'm not a fan of anonymity either, but it has its uses.
Well, certainly, yeah.
The Harding story, where we learn that Harding High School is run pretty much like a Salvadoran prison.
Mm-hmm.
We only know that because of teachers who were granted anonymity by the Pioneer Press. The Pioneer Press, like any newspaper still functioning, doesn't throw around anonymity lightly. It would just soon not have it. But they said, this is too important. Yes, Josh Vergas, the reporter, who wrote the most important school story in the history of the Pioneer Press, you may grant those teachers anonymity if they wish to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
The key word there, though, being teachers, right? When you have an anonymous source, don't you also have to back that up with at least two more sources?
You would certainly try to, but you're right. This is about 6 teachers who came forward.
Yeah.
And the reason they wanted anonymity is because the district has a history of retaliation, which is absurd on the face of it. You are run by such an incompetent fool at the top that he's going to cost you your job if you point out that nothing that he's doing works. That's what's been happening.
And even though that they were anonymous, it's still worth monitoring to see if anything does happen to some of these teachers.
To back up Kenny's point, remember Watergate, they had the one source, the Deep Throat, the FBI agent, but Ben Bradley told them as they have to go verify whatever, and they both had sources, Woodward and Bernstein, who could verify what Mark Felt, the FBI agent, had told them.
Right.
Were there any updates over the weekend in the St. Paul paper regarding that story?
No, short of me writing about it, no.
Yeah.
I think that...
How is that going to be just slipped under the carpet?
Well, I don't think it will be. I think the silence is a measure of them having been reproached. I don't know what they intend to do about it, but no parent in their right mind is now going to send a kid to Harding.
How's it work in St. Paul? Can you pull your kid out of there,
Yes.
put him somewhere else, and then rely on a bus service to get him from home to school?
Well, ideally,
is it that easy?
that's one of the problems is that I suppose the financial situation of a family would impact greatly on where a kid could go to school. But I would urge those parents to explore every option. A lot of the private schools have scholarship money available,
Yeah, they do.
and take it if they got it.
What I thought was interesting, it was the anecdotal stories that I received about how this has been going on for years and years and years, where the school district, St. Paul, will take problem kids and shuffle them off to a different school. In the case I'm thinking about from a listener, it was out to Stillwater.
Well, it
And-
was the case of the kid who got stabbed. He was a problem kid at Humboldt,
and that's
so
right.
let's
right.
move him to Harding.
Exactly.
Right here, I wasn't even going to discuss this today, but you're alerting me to the one great fact in this, and that is, I have long contended that these absurd equity policies are making black children less than. You are seeing the results of making black children less than.
Yes.
You are seeing the results. The results are horrific. The results are when you tell a black kid, we're not going to suspend you, we're not going to punish you, we don't hold you accountable, because obviously, and this is what the failed academy has come up with, obviously you've been subjected to patriarchy and white privilege and you're a victim. And no matter what you do and how you behave, we can justify it because you've been victimized, which is B as in B, S as in S. Well, what's happening to the kids is that they're losing their own self-respect. You know, somebody gets punished. That's the one funny thing. Now, there was more than one. But one of the great moments, I shouldn't say great. One of the redeeming moments in the Chris Rock concert was telling the story of how his daughter and three of her pals were threatened with expulsion. And he might have been making this up, but I don't think he was. Were threatened with expulsion because on a class trip to Portugal, because Chris Rock's kid wasn't going to PS number 22. On a class trip to Portugal, they stuck out of their chaperone guidance and went in a bar and got too overserved and whatnot. And they came back, and all the parents of the white kids got lawyers to threaten the school. Don't expel my kid. Rock went to the dean, the headmaster, and begged him to throw his kid out, teach her a lesson.
Okay.
And that's what black parents have been deprived of by the left. They've been deprived of that. Black parents, do not let the school board, do not let the school administration, do not let the failed academy do you any favors. They are looking at your child and saying, we don't expect anything from your child. That's what they're doing to your child. They're making your child less than, and your child is not less than. And that was the one thing about the Rock deal that I really appreciated.
For some reason, I can't stop thinking about that kid who had a couple of opinion pieces a couple of years ago, Marcus Hunter II.
Yep.
I live in a cemetery called North Minneapolis, and then the other one, imagine you're a black male teen. You go through everything you go through growing up in the ghetto where, you know, to paraphrase Marcus, your next step might be your last. You think you get a reprise when you go to school because you want to learn, you want to succeed, and you want to go forward, and then you have that kind of nonsense like you have at Harding and other schools.
Yeah, and what you have to do first, here's how to fix Harding. First of all, they need metal detectors today. Look, you got to start with this premise. you have a generation of kids coming in who have had no foundation for moral and ethical integrity.
Right.
Okay, and then you are accommodating that by your behavior in the schools by not holding them accountable for anything.
Right.
So here's what I would do at Harding. Metal detectors at every door, cops back in the school, and absolute consequences and punishment for any misbehavior. You swear at a teacher, you're out of that classroom. And I can't condone corporal punishment because I'll get nowhere for that. And probably
But
that's...
you won't even get to this step is the sad part.
But that's unwise for me to suggest that a gym teacher should slap the kid back. That's wrong of me. That's not going to happen. But that kid has to go and, I don't know, do 500 push-ups. Do something. You can't swear at a teacher. Right. You can't smoke a joint in school. You can't harass kids in a bathroom. You can't... You know, I don't think it's far-fetched to say these policies have blood on their hands.
Well, it's evident.
You had a kid stabbed to death.
Right.
And the teachers were saying that was only a matter of time. So you school administrators, and I think this is really true the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, you not only have ruined the academy, you've ruined any chance for these children of color to have expectations in their life. You are despicable people. You are despicable with your failed equity policies. You've ruined it. And you got to turn it around starting today. And that means these tough decisions. Metal detectors, cops, and don't smart off to me, mister.
Yep.
Do these bad
I came
kids?
unplugged here. I don't know what Kenny's saying.
Oh, right.
Just a minute. I got to put this thing back in. Yeah,
That's
I'm
what-
unplugged. I'm plugged back in now.
That's what she said.
Right.
These bad kids. So, are we to assume that they can't read and they can't write and they can't do simple addition and subtract? Are they just? How do they get through life?
In 19 public schools across the state, not a single student can do grade-level math during the 21-22 school year, according to an American Experiment analysis of state assessment data. 0 students at 6 traditional public schools, 2 online public schools, and 11 public charter schools demonstrated proficiency on the math Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment Spring 2022. Additionally, 0 students at one of the traditional public schools also could not read at a grade level. Half of the traditional public schools with 0% proficiency are in the Minneapolis Public School District.
Wow.
Among elementary schools in the Minneapolis-St. Paul School District, 7 had 0 fifth graders demonstrate math proficiency. 0. Wow. This 0% proficiency does not include area learning centers, alternative schools, or special education schools across the state, of which 56 had not a single student meeting grade level expectations in math, and 6 without any student demonstrating reading proficiency. At the start of the 2022 school year, fewer than half of Minnesota students statewide are proficient in math. Fewer than half.
Wow.
44.6%. And just under 50% cannot read at grade level.
A black principal once said, if they can't read by the time they're in 3rd grade, they're going to jail.
On national assessments, Minnesota reading and math scores are the lowest they have been in 30 years. Who's been in charge? The failed academy. And the failed academy cannot be responsible for a poorly behaved children arriving at school. But the failed academy can be responsible for doing nothing to improve the behavior of a poorly behaved child. They too easily accommodate it with their equity policies and their false notion of white patriarchy is the cause of that child's behavior. Utter BS. School administrators are acting despicably. They're despicable people.
Well, they're concerned about pronouns, Joe. They care about that, how you identify.
And don't tell me money is the answer, because obviously it is not the answer. Public education in the state of Minnesota gets more than half this state's budget. they'll probably get a big hunk of the surplus that you'll never see as Walz continues to pander to the education union. None of it is working.
That
It's a
piece you
mess.
just read, all those stats from, where did you find that?
Center of the American Experiment,
Every
who broke down the Minnesota assessment data.
Every single Minnesotan should read that. Every single one. Whether you're 90 or 19, everybody should know that.
Can't you tell in just your daily interactions with the public?
Yes. Yeah. It's,
Yes.
Customer service is down.
Oh, my God.
Not to mention, just being polite.
I won't name the place, but I was getting gas.
Yes.
And then I went inside to buy a couple of things and paid in cash. And the 24-year-old cashier had a tough time with the change.
Oh, yeah, they all do.
Failure to help students achieve rudimentary literacy and numeracy skills despite all the dollars being spent is unacceptable. State leaders should take a hard look at these schools and their operations and hold them accountable, if not shut them down. That includes failing charter schools. Students being left behind deserve access to a learning environment that will meet their needs. In a sane world, schools that don't and can't teach a single student the most basic of skills would be shut down, wrote Ted Dabrowski and John Klinger in their analysis of Illinois schools, which was the inspiration for us to look into Minnesota's. But here they carry on. The system thrives while students wither. And that's, again, I'm cutting teachers slack. The teachers aren't responsible for that. It's the administrative policies.
Right.
The teachers are too busy worried if they're going to be somebody's going to shoot them.
Right.
Wow.
Would you like to take a time out and bring back our man, John Heidt?
I would.
All right, let's do that.
But first, I'd love to let all of the GLers know about the best quality water.
Let's hear it.
I love a good glass of water.
How about with ice?
Well, I love it.
Ice water is the best.
Yeah.
And you'll get the best from my friends at Hofferman Water because Connecticut is the top of the line and that's what they deal with. Connecticut has you taken care of, whether you're in the market for a water softener, maybe an iron rust or odor filtration system, or you just want the good old standard, a brand new drinking water system from Connecticut and Hofferman Water. Well, you are in luck because a new system from Connecticut can do so many things that other water softeners just simply cannot do. It's going to cut down on your salt usage, but it's also going to protect your appliances, which are also a massive investment for you. Because bad water can affect almost every aspect of your home, but you get that new system from Hofferman and Connecticut, your showers are better. So is your cooking, your laundry, and your drinking water. So do me a favor, get in touch with my friends at Hofferman Water today. I have been a proud customer of Hofferman Water for years now, and you will be happy too if you decide to make the switch. 952-894-4040. That's 952-894-4040, or just visit their website, HoffermanWater.com. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Tell them you heard about them here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
In our climate, using seafoam, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Hey, GLers, Kenny here. It's warm one day, it's frigid the next, fog, rain, snow, freezing drizzle. Seafoam works to fight off the condensation and remove deposits while lubricating the moving parts and preserving engine vapors, making starting easier on the cold days. Nothing worse than a vehicle not starting when it's at or below zero. Seafoam is on our side and a true miracle in a world of bad gas and miserable temperatures. For more tips, log on to seafoamworks.com.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
You know who else you can't stop? You cannot stop Ray and Welter Heating.
You can call me Ray.
You can call me Ray and you can call me Welter. But you doesn't have to call my shelter. Here's the deal. Go to welterheating.com. For 100 years and 4 generations, that's their history. And what does that mean? That means they've got experience. So when they come out to work on your furnace, maybe it's your air conditioner, it is the season right now. It is the season for getting that air conditioning tuned up right now. This is the season. And if your furnace is making funky noises, have them come out and look at your furnace. They are the professionals. They are local, and again, a century of experience underneath their belt there. 612-825-6867. But they also do air purification. And go to their website, welterheating.com, and learn about that. And then call 612-825-6867 and shout, "Purify my shelter with the fine folks from Welter." That's all you have to do. Again, they are Garage Logicians. It's a family-run business, and they are on this podcast because they know that GLers aren't going to be fooled by a fly-by-night company. They're going to go with someone that has experience. Go online to make an appointment, or you can call, whatever the case may be. Just make sure you're not cornered in with furnace problems or air conditioning problems down the road. Call them right now, get a little tune-up, and tell them that the Rook sent you. 612-825-6867. Online at welterheating.com.
Here's John Heidt. Yes,
Thanks,
he
Joe.
is.
Yes, he is. I was hoping you wouldn't comb your hair like you just did, because you touched one part of it and it stood straight up, and you left it that way through that entire ad. And I wanted to show the people, but you fixed it right before you introduced me. So,
Damn the vanity, huh?
yeah,
I can't control it.
Yeah,
I understand.
that's obvious.
In the news, story
Excuse
that was big news. A man charged with fatally shooting a 9-year-old girl back in 2021 moved to enter a guilty plea today. 20-year-old Dupree Sharif Robinson charged with both first-degree and second-degree murder in the killing of Trinity Addison Smith. You'll remember the story. She was shot while playing on a trampoline in the backyard of her friend's home May 15th, 2021. While proceedings were scheduled to start today, there was a delay for an unspecified reason, and it was later learned Robinson had opted to take a plea deal and enter a guilty plea to second-degree murder. Under terms of this agreement, he's expected to receive a sentence of around 37 years in prison. He faced life in prison if convicted of first-degree murder. He will be sentenced on March 21st. Lawmakers in the Minnesota House of Representatives could vote on nearly $2 billion worth of infrastructure spending today. It would be the first bonding bill in 2 years if it makes it to the governor's desk. Typically, bonding bills come later in the session, but lawmakers want to make sure this gets done after it failed to pass last year. Governor Walz initially proposed $3.3 billion for infrastructure spending in late January, but the current package is smaller, coming in at about $1.9 billion. The bill contains nearly $250 million that would go toward road and bridge improvements, another $300 million that would help state colleges and universities. About $180 million would be allocated toward natural resources, and about $140 million would be set aside for employment and economic development.
What was the total figure, John?
$1.9 billion, almost $2 billion.
What is our surplus at right now?
19 or 18.7,
18 and some
19.7, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Million?
Billion, yes,
Billion.
with a B.
Billion.
You know what I'd accept? I'd spend the whole surplus on infrastructure. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Don't
But
borrow any money. Just go out and redo every road and bridge in the state. I'm cool with that.
Yep.
And in your story, where's the money coming from?
It's just part of the budget.
General
I'm assuming
fund.
it, would come from the general fund.
So it doesn't involve any increase in our taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the spending of that surplus, as I've told you, will result in the government having grown by $17 billion, which you will need to fund in forever.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
Am I just being naive and saying, why don't we use some of the surplus to pay for everything you just mentioned?
I just said that. I agree.
Yeah,
Let's just use it up and fix everything.
So is that a naive position?
I guess for us, because we're not DFLers. We're not crooks who are going to money launder it and corrupt it. Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I?
Well, I was hoping you would. Thank you for saying it. That's what I was trying to get you to say.
An active shooter seen in Stillwater on Saturday at the Curve Crest Villa apartment complex resulted in the death of one person. According to police and witness accounts, gunfire went off both in and outside the building around 2:30 in the afternoon, ending in the death of the alleged shooter by police. The event struck many as out of place. This isn't something that happens in Stillwater, said Police Chief Brian Mueller during a Saturday night press conference. He added, I can't project right now what was happening inside of that residence, but I can tell you that, like I said, there were numerous shots fired inside and outside prior to the arrival, with several civilians that were hurt. Arriving officers were also met with bullets, Mueller said, which he believes hit a squad car before officers returned fire and hit the single male suspect. He died later at the hospital. No officers were hurt, but Mueller said 2 to 3 civilians were hurt, likely at the hands of the alleged shooter. The BCA yesterday would not comment on the exact number of people hurt, their current conditions. An update on the investigation can be expected likely midweek, according to a spokesman. 4 American citizens are missing after being assaulted and kidnapped from a vehicle by unidentified armed men in Mexico, according to the FBI. The Americans came under gunfire from the men shortly after crossing the border on Friday through the city of Matamoros in the Tamaulipas state, across from Brownsville, Texas. And according to Special FBI Agent Oliver Rich, the victims crossed into Mexico driving a white minivan with North Carolina license plates, according to the FBI. Shortly after, the gunman fired upon the passengers in the vehicle, and the 4 Americans were placed in another vehicle taken from the scene by the men.
I ain't going to Mexico.
Law enforcement has not released the names of those who they said were kidnapped. Their conditions are not known. The U.S. consulate in Matamoros issued an alert about a shooting in the city. The message cited media reports that one person had been killed, but the consulate did not immediately confirm that death.
John, I have a question about that story.
Yes, sir.
The account that I read, and I don't know if it's the same one you did, basically made it seem like the only reason that they were stopped and kidnapped was basically to obtain the vehicle that had U.S. plates on it. Is that accurate?
I don't know, because they did put the 4 people in another vehicle, so I don't know what they did with the 4 people.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I guess that would be...
I ain't going there.
Well,
You going to
basically
Mexico?
just to use it as a smuggling vehicle.
And I ain't going to Alaska anymore either. Not that I've ever been, but I'm not going.
You got to go to
What
Alaska.
happened there?
We forgot to talk about that off the air.
Jeez, Kenny. Oh.
The hour before that hour, to me, was the most disturbing, Joe. There was a test
We're talking aliens here.
in Nevada.
Of course.
There was a
I should have
test, a
known.
nuclear test in Nevada. I believe it was 1953. Right after the explosion, a spacecraft was seen whizzing across the sky.
Yep.
It crashed. They recovered a living body that went to work for the U.S. government at Area 51.
That's what I'm
His
talking about.
job was to reverse engineer the spacecraft that they have. That, to me, was the most frightening and alarming thing I had ever heard. And
believe
many
every
people...
word of it.
Who reported that?
Oh, some people.
Yeah. A guy with the
Some
antenna.
people.
Green-eyed lady.
Green-eyed lady.
In Alaska, there's some weird stuff happening.
And over and over again, the one story I didn't believe is that a craft landed outside of Washington, D.C., and this guy went to the Pentagon and had a meeting with Eisenhower. Sorry, I'm putting the brakes on that
I'm
one.
going to put the brakes on that one.
But it's been said that they have contacted, and it's called a close encounter of the 5th kind, where they've had conversations, and they have decided that we as a society, this world, is not ready to find out everything.
I want it to be that they arrive, and if you've got a sick child, they walk up to you and they give you a little vial, and they say, give this to the baby.
They probably can.
And then you're cured. That's what I'm doing there.
But
Okay.
these close encounters of the 5th kind, they're evidently very disturbed by the nuclear capabilities that the world has, and they're worried that we're going to destroy.
Yeah, they don't like us having this, do they?
Right.
Yeah.
That
It'll all happen this year, people. It'll all become known to you this year, Johnny.
I mean, what are we going to do when some a craft hovers above the United States that's the size of the United
Yep,
States?
that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
In other news, authorities say
No, John, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying, John.
Authorities say, now this is happening every year. I don't know. These maybe aren't even news stories anymore. Authorities say 9 people had to be rescued Sunday night after getting stranded on a sheet of ice in Goodhue County.
Yeah.
Goodhue County Sheriff's Office's deputies, along with members of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and the Lake City Fire and Ambulance crews, were called to Lake Pepin shortly after 5:30 after a caller said 6 adults and 3 kids were stranded on the lake. When crews got there, they entered the ice from the Maiden Rock, Wisconsin landing, then used airboats to reach for the 9 people and bring them to shore.
Ooh, that's
Luckily,
badass.
The sheriff says nobody was injured. Crews plan to return today to get a snowmobile, ATV, and fishing gear that were left out on the ice sheet. Tough few days. I don't know if you
I'm
guys
sorry,
have-
Johnny, but how does that happen? How do you get stranded on ice?
The ice breaks off, you start floating away.
Okay.
I don't trust river ice ever.
Right. If that's moving,
Not even if it's 40 below out and there's a foot of ice out there. If there's moving water underneath, yikes.
Agreed.
I'm chicken.
Tough few days in the musical world. We told you about the death of legendary saxophonist Wayne Shorter on Friday.
Yep.
Then on Friday afternoon, or on Thursday, I'm sorry. Then on Friday, we found out multi-stringed virtuoso David Lindley had died. He played with a lot of folks, put out his own solo albums, and best known for his work with Jackson Browne. Played the leads on the classic Runnin' on Empty record, and his solo on the later That Girl Could Sing by Browne is pretty much considered the epitome of perfect tone for guitarists. He had been in ill health. He was 78 years old.
John, my roommate reports that in all of her time bartending at the Caboose, the David Lindley show was without a doubt the best show she had seen. And she
Amazing
saw
player.
a lot of acts, a lot of really good acts.
I don't doubt that. I've never seen him. I didn't get a chance to, but his solo records were wonderful. And of course, his playing with Jackson Browne and Zevon and a ton of other people was great. Then on Saturday, we found out about the death of Michael Rhodes. Rhodes, the bass player in Nashville, played on hundreds of records, played with all the country stars, Johnny Cash, Dixie Chicks, Vince Gilmer, Haggard, Alan Jackson, also played on records by rock fellas like Mark Knopfler, J.J. Cale, Joe Bonamassa, Steve Winwood, and lots more. No cause of death was given. Rhodes was 69 years old. And then on Sunday, the last surviving member of Leonard Skinner, Gary Rossington, died. Rossington, an original member, and played lots of great guitar in the band, including those soaring bird-like solo bits in the song Free Bird. He had lots of health problems. He had a quadruple bypass back in 2003 and several heart procedures after that. But he continued to tour when he could and served as an advisor to the band when he couldn't tour. The band, right now pretty much a cover band, but those 5 albums they did before the plane crash, you can't beat
Pretty
them.
good
Rossington-
stuff.
Oh, yeah, and Rossington played guitar on all of those. After
Give me
Skinner
3
broke
steps,
up,
baby. Give me 3 steps to the door.
that's the first album, the second album, and the 5th album. All just,
Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man.
first album, both those, yep.
May I ask a dumb question? Did
Sir.
he survive the crash?
Leonard?
Yes,
He
he did.
did survive the crash,
Leonard?
yes.
Oh, I didn't know if he was on the plane or not.
There's
Okay.
no Leonard. They named a.
Yeah.
It was after a
Don't
teacher.
bite, Joe. Don't bite.
3,
Don't bite.
3 of them, Chris, I believe, survived, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
You're trying, weren't
Collins.
you, Roy?
Well, yeah, because he was flying solo with Led Zeppelin, right?
Johnny, keep going.
That wasn't even.
I don't even know
Anyway,
what that means.
After the
Band's going to
plane,
take off like a Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
and who said that?
I don't know.
Keith Moon told
yeah.
that to Jimmy Page. Anyway, Rossington Collins Band, that was Gary Rossington's band shortly after Skinner's plane crash, but then he got back with Skinner after they reformed. So 71 years old, by the way, Rossington. A lot of rock and roll and jazz deaths.
a lot
the
of
last
people are
4 years.
dying young.
Yes, all of them, around 70, which is a bit disconcerting. Concert, how about that, Joe? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Concert announcement for the area, fresh off joining his longtime peers, Earth, Wind, and Fire in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Lionel Richie will now pair up with Earth, Wind, and Fire for a co-headlining tour set to begin in St. Paul on August 4th. Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire will kick off their Sing a Song All Night Long tour. That's 2 songs, one by each. Get it? Sing a song all night long.
I think so.
Copy.
Was he a
Also-
member of Earth, Wind, and Fire?
No, he was a member of the Commodores.
Lionel Richie was?
Yeah, he was the lead singer
Yeah.
on Commodores.
I didn't know
Easy? Remember Easy? I'm easy.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
That's Lionel Richie. Yeah.
He
Have
looks
you
like an
seen her?
alien. He doesn't look right.
Oh, that's the Chi-Lites, isn't it? Have
Are
you
you-
seen her?
Are you watching
that's
him
the shot.
on American Idol, Kenny?
What? And I never heard of that show.
Don't bite,
Yeah,
Kenny.
Kenny, don't bite. Don't bite. Thank you.
Tickets on sale for that concert, by the way, starting next Monday.
Hey, how was Marty Stewart?
Marty Stewart was incredible.
You saw
They-
Marty Stewart at the Hopkins Center of the Arts where we performed.
I did, yes, and they did, much to my surprise, an all-acoustic show. And I was kind of disappointed at first, but then the show was just brilliant. So
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was
Hopkins Performing Arts Center. You've heard such fine acts as Marty Stewart and Garage
Garage
Logic.
Logic's been there on its world tour.
We've told you a million times, don't do this. And Rook will certainly attest to this, I think. Broward Sheriff's Office deputies in Florida arrested an Ohio woman Tuesday after they accused her of making a smart-ass remark, a bogus bomb threat at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport.
Yeah, that's a wrong place to do that, isn't it?
It really
Yeah,
is.
and it wasn't even really clever. Deputies responding to Terminal 1 at around 1:05 after TSA reported a security alert from a carry-on bag belonging to Dorian Davis of Dayton, who turned 26 years old last week. Authorities said while being patted down by a TSA agent, Davis was heard saying, whole time they missed a whole bomb in my bag.
Oh, yeah, that'll attract attention.
That's hilarious.
That's not funny.
Davis was arrested and later transported to the main jail in the county without incident. She does face a charge of making a false report or a bomb threat against the government or publicly owned property. Florida man who thought he'd hit the jackpot winning thousands of dollars on a Florida lottery scratch-off ticket, but when he went to the lottery office to cash in, he was told the state was keeping his winnings and he owed money.
Ooh, I
The
hate when
man-
that happens.
Joe Chung won $10,000 on his lottery ticket. A message from the scanned ticket confirmed the winnings. It congratulated him and directed him to the lottery office to claim the cash. So he went to the office and handed over his winning ticket, but he left disappointed. The unemployed mechanic was handed a piece of paper claiming he owed the state money, specifically the Department of Economic Opportunity for unemployment compensation. Chung said he did get unemployment assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic, and though no fault of his own, the state told him he was overpaid and had a debt balance of $7,800.
Ooh.
But like so many others, he had applied for and was granted forgiveness before, and the overpayments were waived. Luckily for him, he had proof. He said it took him a while to get through, a couple days actually, to the Department of Economic Opportunity, but it finally meant he could keep the lottery winnings, the 10 grand. He said he'd use the money to make mortgage and car payments. This apparently has happened to several people in Florida in the last couple of months.
You know what I did yesterday for the first time in my life?
What?
Went to a bakery.
What?
Went to a bakery.
Wait,
On a
what?
Sunday?
Yeah,
Bakeries usually aren't open on a Sunday.
this one was.
You never
What'd you
been to a
get?
bakery, Joe?
Nope.
What'd you get?
But the Star Tribune had a survey of the best chocolate chip cookies in the metro.
Yeah.
So I went to one of the bakeries that had them, and I got them. I
Well,
bought them.
name them.
It was bread and chocolate. It was the only St.
Oh,
Paul
bread.
bakery
And,
they
bread
mentioned.
Bread and chocolate is
What was that?
outstanding.
Was that the only thing you had to eat all day? Was just chocolate cookies?
Oh, no, I took them elsewhere as a kind of an arrival gift.
Oh,
Yeah.
How many cheese sandwiches have you had in the last 3-4 days?
Oh, none yet.
It hasn't got that bad yet.
No.
You know what that was? That was a call me now.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could get the time in the town.
Yep. Okay.
Was that something on your list of things you wanted to do as you get older? Just make sure you make it
Right,
to
and
a
he
bakery?
crossed it
Was
off
that-
as soon as he got home.
Well, both newspapers are just really heavy on food stories.
Yeah,
They
I love
just
the
have
five
every
best-
day.
The
So you
five
went to
best
go
things
s-
you ate this week.
You
love
went to
that
go see
story.
what the hype was all
And
about.
so I thought, I'm going to check this out. And I did it. I'm proud of myself. I did.
Bread and
I
chocolate
would-
also has outstanding tuna sandwiches and egg salad for on
I
those
don't
Fridays.
do I don't do egg salad.
I would pay big money to get to watch a streaming show, just one camera in your kitchen while she's gone. That would be so fun. It'd be so entertaining.
Be a lot of opening
really
the cupboard
would.
door and going.
Yeah,
As long as I'm being ridiculed, I was left printed instructions for how to use the washing machine.
Make sure it's
Oh my God!
And
Have you tried it, Joe?
And the dryer.
no, but I mean, have you attempted?
Now I'm going to see if I can get by without having to do it. But I'll probably have to.
Aren't there laundry services in town where you can just bring in your dirties
Yes.
and
Probably.
that's what you should do.
No, and
No,
the
no, no,
soap,
li-
she already put the soap in it. So the first time I use it, I
it's
don't
all
even
measured.
add soap.
so you're not
All
pulling a
measured
Brady
out.
Bunch where there's soap all over.
Right,
and
the
it
whole
spills
room's
over.
full
Okay.
of bubbles.
Right.
And, yeah,
Oh my God!
there are bubbles everywhere. Yeah.
Bubbles.
So I got that going, and we're doing pretty well so far.
Several times a week, it seems like it's full of the bubbles.
Never been to a bakery. That astonishes me,
Well,
Joe.
think about it. Think about it.
That's a good bakery.
Why in the hell would I have ever gone to a bakery?
When you were a kid,
I can't actually make fun of him for that one. I think
You've never been to a bakery?
I don't think I've ever walked
Well,
into a bakery.
What need would there ever be to go to a bakery?
That's just not my department.
Yeah.
you're the
Go
guy
to
that's
George's.
to pick up stuff for,
They have donuts at the Super America.
Yeah.
What the
they
hell?
got-
but not-
you
not
go to the
good
gas
donuts,
station and get a sweet roll.
You got to park and get out and
Yeah.
fight the crowd and then make a
George's
decision.
Midwest Bakery, I'm telling you, on Mandan's Main Street, George's Midwest Bakery had the best
That's what I'm going to do.
sugar-raised donuts. in
Drive
the
to
world.
Mandan and get me some donuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
head
it's
to North
closed. It's
Dakota.
closed now. George, we lost George. He passed away about 30 years ago. But when I was a kid,
Dorothy Ann Bakery in Woodbury makes those cake donuts.
I don't care.
And they're
I'm not
crispy.
going to
He
Woodbury.
leaves
The
it in
only
bake.
time,
Steve does
the
a
only
great job.
time Matthew gets serious on this show when it's
It
about
really
food.
is.
It's
Yeah.
the only time he's
Because
serious.
you're endorsing my selection of bread and chocolate.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I kept getting it confused with Breadsmith. I drove by that a few times.
Breadsmith is where you can get chocolate babka. It's a fantastic.
What in God's name is that?
It's like a dessert. Chocolate babka. It's like a bread with chocolate on it. It's
don't do
it's
that.
fantastic. My kids, my kids.
I'll
love
tell
it.
you who makes a damn good cookie is that's those
Call me now.
those peanut butter cookies that come in that yellow bag that's in the vending machine. That's a damn good cookie. You don't have to go to a bakery to get
I
them.
tell you, I
It's
ate
like
some,
$1.50.
I ate some cookies from them Girl Scouts this weekend too. Those
No,
were
no.
I'll tell you what, that ain't cheap going to
No.
a bakery.
No, it's not. But you're getting quality food.
Yeah.
I'm anti Girl Scout cookie. We
What?
got a whole pile.
Can I tell you that story too?
What? Yeah.
A neighbor brings the little girl from across the street. We're selling. I said, "Do you got Thin Mints?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, then I don't want anything. But if you get Thin Mints, I'm your guy."
Come back.
So they come back.
The
maybe.
Samoa is the best Girl Scout
Guys,
cookie.
they've ruined them. They've made them too healthy. And there's a smaller portion.
Can
I
we-
really
I wanna-
want to complain.
I want to hear how did it turn out, Joe.
They haven't come back yet.
Oh. So you're just hanging on the verge, hoping.
I'll buy 10 boxes. of
Are you
Thin
checking the shades
you were
every
always
now and
good
then?
for
You
it.
walk
Yeah.
to
My
the
kids.
window and look out.
You know what happened to Joe? Baby doll need a Thin Mint.
Yeah. Baby, don't need some Thin Mint.
He got a cousin in the car.
Yeah. You got a twin.
He got a twin in the
You
car.
got a twin in the car.
That's Halloween candy.
That's Halloween.
My favorite story. I need another one. He got a twin in
And
the
then
car.
she held the bag up open. Like,
Oh, yeah,
here we
you
go.
got to.
Let's
You
go.
got to.
He's got a twin in
Pop
the
it up.
car.
Oh,
I got called a really, really mean word on Friday night when the roommate got home and saw that the half of a banana cream pie that was in there when she left was completely gone.
Boy, who did that?
She did not like that.
Oh, boy. That was her half,
You're a
probably.
greedy kid, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, why don't we take a break? But I want to tell you something. You don't want your affairs. You know, when you die, you want enough money left over for the kids to go to the bakery.
How about this? When you eat half the banana cream pie and she wants to file for divorce,
Then you
gotta
call,
get your affairs in
you
order.
call my people.
Yes.
Or if she
Eckberg
kills you, you
Lammers.
want it all set up.
You call Eckberg Lammers, say you got a problem. You got a banana cream pie problem. There was half left. I ate it. She now wants a divorce.
sure
I
they
don't
got
want
a
to get.
program
I got to take
now
care of
she
my
gets
taxes.
half of all my stuff.
That's right. You want to avoid court. You want to avoid taxes. No, you want to minimize taxes and control your wishes. Then you need an estate plan. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you think of the word estate. The estate merely means your belongings. You don't want what you've worked for to fall into the hands of the government, particularly in this godforsaken state of Minnesota, where you might never see that money again, neither will your people. But they will with the estate plan from Eckberg Lammers. They'll take care of any children's questions, property questions in the family. Snowbirds, you have tax questions. Small businesses, you want succession planning. They take care of everything. And unfortunately, you can't avoid it. And I wouldn't wait. Rookie, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait.
Wouldn't
I'd
wait.
get this
I shouldn't
done.
wait.
It's called being proactive. Do I have to get foghorned
Yeah,
for
proactive
that?
gets the foghorn.
But that does make sure your family is taken care of and your assets are protected according to your wishes. Start this conversation. Call Eckberg Lammers, Tell them that you're a GLer and you're worried about your stuff, and they'll take care of it for you. It absolutely is a must. Call Eckberg Lammers at 651-439-2878 or visit Eckberg Lammers at eckberglammers.com.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Soucheray.
Firearm aficionados, let's talk about DK Mags. They have a full stock of the most modern firearms and ammunition in stock. If you're looking for something specific or rare, DK Mags can also take special orders on specialty items or hard-to-source items. Hop on the website, DK Mags, and start shopping. If you don't see it there, call or stop in. It's essential because they will help you out. DK Mags has, they've got a gunsmith shop right in there. They can help you with the smaller items. If it's something big and complicated and tough, they have solid outside resources for difficult issues. They have the buying power of a big joint, but they're small, local, kind of really down-home feel. And they know a lot of us by name, and that's why I love them. That's why I fell in love with them the very first time. I was looking for something rare. They found it. I went in there. They treated me with respect. It was wonderful. And what I'm getting to here, if you're new to the game, you're thinking about your very first purchase, DK Mags is the place to go. The staff, very accommodating, fair prices, quality firearms, a wonderful staff. They're on Old 8 in New Brighton and on the web, dkmags.com.
A lot of times I find stuff in the Saturday papers that just absolutely intrigues me to the point of having to save it. And on the Saturday Star Tribune, Minnesota section, on the cover was this headline, Police, man bailed out by nonprofit back in jail. And it's the Freedom Fund.
Oh, good.
And the guy in question is a guy named Jack D. Heinrich. He's 33. He was charged Thursday in Hennepin County District Court with 2 felonies, burglary and property damage over an outburst mid-afternoon last week at the Caribou Coffee in Brooklyn Park on Colorado Lane. The latest incident comes on top of 3 others in Brooklyn Park since last summer that Heinrich has been charged with. Stomping on an American flag in July that he lowered from a highway overpass, and then injuring an officer while resisting arrest, setting a Salvation Army fire in November, and vandalizing a brew house last month. He was quickly arrested at the Caribou Coffee Shop and remained jailed Friday in lieu of $20,000 bail ahead of a court appearance. Heinrich, who is homeless and has a history of mental illness, also ventured in mid-January into Minneapolis, where he was charged and sentenced to probation on a misdemeanor theft count. The judges who sentenced Heinrich in the arson and the brewhouse vandalism also chose probation for him, setting aside any jail time or county workhouse. The only time he has served time for any of the crimes was while in jail awaiting resolution of each case. And then we go on to learn that Heinrich's actions are a major burden to our agency, to constantly having to be dealing with the same individual over and over again with the same type of crime, said Police Inspector Elliot Faust, who added that his department is looking at what whether Heinrich has committed other offenses in Brooklyn Park since last year. He did more than $8,000 in damage at the coffee shop last week. He broke the display cases and ceiling tiles and shattered glasses in coffee mugs. Employees and patrons feared for their safety and locked themselves in the bathrooms. Sounds like Harding High School.
Yeah.
A store employee had been so traumatized by the incident that they won't be returning to work until next week. Faust added that one person inside the coffee shop thought it was an active shooter. When they heard the glass breaking, they ran out of the store in terror. They thought they were going to die. A similar but less chaotic incident. Okay, let me get to the Faust was disappointed to learn of the origin of Heinrich's bail money. Given his history and him being released and reoffended, the Freedom Fund is not helping with these types of problems, the police inspector said. He said judges set bail amounts to ensure a defendant won't reoffend and will attend court hearings as required. And I took a long time for me to get to the point, and I apologize. Freedom Fund Director of Programs Jana Curran declined to talk specifically about how Heinrich was chosen by the nonprofit for bail assistance. But she did list people who are unhoused and are being targeted for their housing status as one category that the fund prioritizes.
Wow.
He wasn't being targeted.
No, he was a pain in the ass and being repeatedly
how was he being
arrested.
targeted? Because he's unhoused.
Homeless, you mean?
Yeah. Asked about inmates who are chronic offenders, Curran said, "We are not going to eliminate anyone based on their criminal history. The criminal legal system has already failed Mr. Heinrich. It's not us to blame. It's a systemic failure."
It's the system's fault.
So that's the ideology you euphorians have created, and you think that's somehow virtuous, that the movie stars slip the Freedom Fund $10,000 or whatever, and they accomplish nothing except continuing problem behavior.
But I can feel better about myself when I write the check.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one time this poor Heinrich guy, he told the cops, "Hey, if I go to prison, at least I got a place to live." And the Freedom Fund is windmilling this poor guy because they keep getting him out.
I think he's just trying to get there.
Hell, he wants to stay in prison. He doesn't have any place to be.
Well, that's just, you can't win. How are you supposed to win against that?
But he wasn't targeted, and B, the ideology of the Freedom Fund is that the victims, that the criminals are the victims. It's that simple. The criminal, of no matter what you do, according to the Freedom Fund, you are the victim of a systemic failure by the judicial system. There's your Freedom Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, the continued disintegration of a city.
And the country. And all like that. All like that. Only because they come to us. All the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga. Where are we?
South Africa?
South Africa, from the traveling linemen's at worldwidewaftage.com in 1852.
March 6th.
On this day,
Yep.
Hennepin County was formed, named for Louis Hennepin, a Franciscan missionary who saw and named the Falls of St. Anthony in 1680. There's a lot of them today, so I'm going to cut to on this day in 1868.
3-6.
Grant, Lyon, and Wilkin counties were formed out of Laquaparle County, which ceases to exist. Grant and Lyon are named for Civil War generals Ulysses S. Grant and Nathaniel Lyon. Wilkin County had previously been named for Robert Toombs, who later became a Confederate leader. The county was then named Andy Johnson for the president. Andy Johnson County.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But his political attitude disturbed the county's residents, leading them to adopt the present name, which honors Colonel Alexander Wilkin. See? I would have gone with Andy Johnson.
Yeah.
On this day in 1871, the name Laquaparle is given to a new county. The name is French for lake that talks. It likely refers to echoes among the bluffs surrounding the lake of the same name. Yellow Medicine County was also formed, named for the root of the moon seed, called Pajuta Z, yellow medicine by the Dakota, and used as a medicinal herb. Mm-hmm. Or do you say herb?
No, it's herb.
Herb, I think, yeah.
Herb is your neighbor.
And this was terribly important. On this day in 2000, March 6th.
Yeah.
Duluth became the first city in the nation to ban the sale of mercury thermometers to prevent the element from polluting the environment. Minnesota had prohibited the use of mercury thermometers in hospitals in 1992. I had no idea. I had no idea that mercury from thermometers was a big problem.
I guess it was back in 2000.
What, did people break them and then...
Well, if you dropped it, I'm sure, and it broke.
Mercury is a weird element.
I'll say.
It rolls around like beads, BBs.
Yeah.
It's weird stuff.
Didn't in the early mid-1800s they would administer mercury to people as a cure-all?
Sure, it helped you with stuff.
Sure.
You can get it.
Yeah.
You can get some mercury.
Helped you with stuff.
I don't know what it did, but
Now you just use tussin.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a
either.
Chris Rock line.
Well, thank you, GLers.
Dad, my arm's broken. Just put a little tussin on it.
Tussin. All right, I don't know what that is. Thank you very much.
Okay. GLers, do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button on the Garage Logic YouTube channel because there we are posting daily content for your amusement. You can also follow us along on our social media channels, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And, the Garage Logic Town Council, if you haven't signed up yet, for $10 a month or $100 a year, completely separate from the actual podcast. We had someone, a confused emailer, ask about that last week. No, the Town Council is completely separate. The Garage Logic podcast, that is still free. So find out more and sign up right now at garagelogic.com.